Hello, beautiful people. Today is 18th of May. My name is Sahil, and welcome to Newspaper Analysis. Friends, he is Benjamin Disraeli, who had twice served as the Prime Minister of UK. Guys, he say power has only one duty to secure the social welfare of the people. So, friends, according to me, this idea means that if you hold a sword, you should not act as a yielder of power, rather, you should act as a protector of the people. Moreover, guys, such idea also correlates to Mahatma Gandhi's advice, in which in 1937 he advised the Congress ministers that when they will be yielding the cabinet positions, then that particular thing should not be seen as a opportunity of power, rather it should be seen as a crown studded with the thorns. Therefore, guys, the motto of power should be nothing but the welfare of the people. Now, friends, let's begin with today's analysis. Friends, this is the page number 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and the first news that we can see here is the fifth installment of Atmanirbharta Abhiyan. So, guys, every day we are discussing that the central government has announced a fiscal package worth rupees 20 lakh crore, and in that pursuance, it is announcing the daily reforms for the different sectors. Till now, reforms for the four areas have been announced, and this one is the fifth into the line. Now, guys, these all are the kind of miscellaneous reforms where various different sectors have been covered. Friends, before going into the article, today's installment is very important because large number of schemes into the health as well as education sector has been announced. Friends, please be very careful throughout this particular article, and we'll be taking certain attachments from PIB also. Now, friends, first of all, under this reform, government has given an enhanced allocation for the MG Narega up to rupees 40,000 crore. And guys, this particular thing has been appreciated very much, as it will immediately provide employment booster to the people. Now, guys, this particular thing is particularly very important because right now large number of migrants have returned back home, and those returning migrants will be provided employment under the MG Narega. Now, guys, as under MG Narega, people will provide the manual labor. Then, by using that labor, large number of durable livelihood assets as well as water conservation assets such as ponds, etc., will be built, which will be coming up useful for overall development of the entire village or the rural area. Now, guys, a second reform which has been taken is for the health sector, and here government has declared that there will be increased investment into the public health. Right now, government expenditure into the health sector is equivalent to 1.4% of GDP, and this will be enhanced substantially. And guys, investment will be made into the grassroots health institutions which are into the village and to the rural areas. Moreover, particularly health and wellness centers will be established in both rural and urban areas, which can be the primary respondent into any kind of health crisis. Moreover, guys, learning from the present pandemic, infectious disease hospital blocks will be made into all the districts so that any future pandemic can be dealt. Moreover, the lab network will also be enhanced, and large number of public health labs will be built into the blocks as well as all the districts. Now, guys, there is one new thing which has also been suggested, that is national institution platform for one health. Now, guys, one health concept means that the health of a plant, health of animal as well as health of human beings are connected, because they all are connected into a chain, so everybody's health will be taken care of. And then there will be the national digital health blueprint, which will digitally track the health indicators as well as health patterns among the people in the country. So, guys, much reforms have been made into the health sector. Please make a good noting of it. And now, after the health, on number 3, there have been the reforms into the education sector. Now, guys, PME Vidya has been launched, which is a program to enhance the digital or online education. And now, guys, under this PM Vidya, various other sub plans have been started. And the first one is Diksha, which is specifically for the school education. Now, under this initiative, e content and QR coded textbooks will be given for all the classes. So, guys, here the idea is to make one nation, one digital platform, and all this thing is being done so that children can easily embrace the digital education. Now, after this, it has also been decided that one class, one channel concept will be adopted, where one DTH TV channel for every class from 1 to 12th will be started. Moreover, not only TV, but it will further be accentuated by using radio, community radios, and other kind of podcast through which education to the children can be given through the virtual means. Moreover, special focus will be given for the e content for visually and hearing impaired students. Now, this is all about the school education. Certain things for the higher education has also been done, where top 100 universities will be permitted that they can start the online courses by the May 2020. So this was all PM Vidya. Now after PM Vidya, the next is Mano Darpan, and it is a initiative for providing the psychological support to student as well as teachers and families, because right now so much changes are going on into the so less time. So basically Mano Darpan will help them to adopt with the change, and psychological support will be given. After that, new national curriculum and pedagogical framework for school, early childhood, and teachers will be launched. Now, it is a thing which is primarily focused towards the school authorities as well as teachers, so that they can respond as how into the changing environment they should also change their teaching strategies. And after that, national foundational literacy and numeracy mission has been started, which will ensure that every child should attain the learning level and outcomes till the fifth standard by 2025. So it is on to the quality of education outcome standards of the children. This particular thing is focused. Guys, this particular slide is very important. Please make a noting of it. Now, guys, next, the reform number 4 is for the ease of doing business. Now, earlier, government has instituted the insolvency and bankruptcy code in order to make the insolvency process fast. But right now, we don't want this insolvency bankruptcy code, because various companies are under strain due to the lockdown, and now they need time to recoup. It is not that they are sick or non performing, just they need the time. So government has decided that for the 1 year, thus there will be suspension of the fresh application for the insolvency and bankruptcy. And guys, after that, the pending loan limit has also been enhanced. Earlier, the loan limit was 1 lakh. If there was a pending loan of 1 lakh, you can start the insolvency process. But now that limit has been raised to rupees 1 crore. Moreover, guys, it has been said that if the loan is because of a COVID, then the COVID related default will not be counted for starting the insolvency process. And now, friends, into the line of ease of doing business, there is one more thing which has been done. That is a decriminalization of Companies Act default. Now, friends, under the Companies Act 2013, there are certain clauses that what you have to do. But if somebody failed to do certain things, then there were the criminal charges and people have to face the jail. But now it has been said that those charges will be decriminalized because they could be the genuine error. So violations such as CSR reporting, delay into the holding of AGM, filing default, all these things now have been decriminalized. Now by this particular thing, the criminal courts will also be released, because large number of petitions will now not be coming, and National Company Law Tribunal will also be relieved. After this, guys, on the sixth number is the new public sector enterprise policy. Now government has decided to go towards the privatization, and it is being said that the government will only be into the strategic sectors. Moreover, what are the strategic sector, they will also be defined into the mean course of time. And when we are talking about strategic sector, there will be 1 to 4 PSUs into every strategic sector. Moreover guys, into strategic sector also, apart from the public PSUs, private industries will be welcomed, and all the other sectors which are non strategics, their PSUs will be privatized. So guys, it is a very big reform of privatization after 1991. And now, guys, the seventh reform comes for the state government's revenues. Now, you know that government are spending much money, but the inflow of money is not there. So, into that aftermath, we have as earlier discussed that the state government wants that their borrowing limit should be enhanced. Now, guys, there is FRBM, that is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, and under this particular act, it has been said that the state governments can raise the borrowing equivalent to 3% of their GDP. Much more than that, they can't raise. And the state governments were saying that because we are not getting money, please allow us to raise more borrowing. So now government has decided that their borrowing limit has been raised to 5% for 1 year, that is for 2021 only. So here more legroom will be given to the state government. Now guys, coming to one more point, this particular additional borrowing will only be there if the state governments will agree to the reform that has been suggested by the central government. So the state government, they need to carry the reform for the ease of doing business, for the rural development, for the job creation. Only then they can take up the additional money. And friends, only the quarter, that is 25% of the borrowing, can be raised unconditionally. So guys, this was about the entire reform package of Atmanirbharta Abhiyan, and cumulatively, according to government, they had given more than 20 lakh 97,000 crore rupees through these series of reforms. Guys, please remember all these things for your GS paper number 3, because this is one of the biggest reform after 1991. Now guys, we'll move to the next. Now guys, here's one more news article where it has been said that the lockdown 4.0 has begun, and in this direction the notification has been issued. Now, certain things are allowed, certain things are not allowed. You are not required to see into this particular thing for exam. However, one thing is important here, that all these guidelines with respect to the lockdown activities etc are being announced by the National Disaster Management Authority under the National Disaster Management Act of 2005. Now guys, this particular act becomes a little bit important because in your GS paper number 3, the topic of disaster management had explicitly been written. Now guys, we will see certain important sections of the National Disaster Management Act because they will be highly important if a question comes on this line. Now, first of all, under the Act, section number 3, there should be the National Disaster Management Authority, which will overlook any kind of disaster if it comes. Next is the section number 8. And the section number 8 says that there should be the National Executive Committee, and this National Executive Committee will assist the National Disaster Management Authority. Guys, then comes the section number 10. Section number 10 says that the National Executive Committee has the power that it can issue the guidelines with respect to any pandemic, any disaster, any crisis. And these guidelines will be issued for any department, any ministry, or any state government. So now, friends, whatever guidelines you are seeing with respect to the lockdown, extension, allowed activities, etc., all these guidelines are being framed by the NEC under the powers given to it by section number 10. So, guys, as the guidelines have been prepared, now how those guidelines will be implemented, so that particular thing is dealt by section number 6. And under section number 6, center government can give directive to implement the guidelines. Which guideline? Which has been prepared by the NEC. So when the lockdown is being extended, then what is actually happening? The guideline is being made by the NEC under section number 10, and those guidelines are being extended to the state government by the Ministry of Home Affairs through section number 6. So guys, please remember this for your GS paper number 3. Now, guys, here's a news item on page number 4 where the direct seeding of rice is being resorted by the farmers in Punjab. So, just for the reference, we will see that what is this direct seeding of rice. Now, guys, with respect to the paddy or rice, what happens? Suppose this is a field, then there will be a different place which will be called as nursery. And in this nursery, the seeds will be raised and they will grow into the saplings. And guys, then these saplings will be transplanted into the field, and here into the field the rice will grow. So this particular traditional method is called as nursery raising and transplanting, because here you are raising the plant into a nursery and then transferring it here. But this particular thing takes much of the time as well as effort. Right now, as the lockdown is going on and the migrants have gone back to their places, the Punjab doesn't have that much of labor that this laborsome practice can be done. So now what they are doing, they have decided to go for the direct seeding of rice. And guys, this particular technique is also called as tar watar direct seeding of rice, or tar watar DSR. In this method, directly the seeds will be sown into the fields and there they will grow. Now, guys, according to the agricultural experts, there are various benefits of the direct seeding of rice. According to them, this particular techniques helps in saving irrigation water. There will be the less weed problem and there will be the reduced incidence of nutrient deficiency. So, guys, it is believed that the transplantation method takes up a lot of nutrients and the nutrients are often lost below, because much water is used into the transplantation method. Here much water is not used, therefore the nutrients will also not be lost. Moreover, guys, at the same time it conserves the groundwater, as already there is less groundwater in Punjab. Moreover, there is one more added advantage, that this particular crop variety matures 7 to 10 days earlier than the transplanted method, and it gives much more time to the farmers for the post harvest management of their farm fields. And after that, it has also been indicated that the DSR is 1 to 1.2 quintal per acre higher. So the per acre yield is also high into this particular method. So guys, whenever we talk about the agricultural reform, then this particular thing you can put as a case study of Punjab. So this was all. Now we'll move to the next. Now, guys, we are into the editorial section, and the first editorial talks about the mistakes that India is making with respect to its Afghan policy. Now, first of all, friends, before understanding the article, we need to understand the equations that are going into the Afghanistan. So, guys, right now in Afghanistan, there are two people. One is Mr. Abdullah, and other is Mr. Ashraf Ghani. Now, guys, Ashraf Ghani is holding the presidential position in Afghanistan since 2014. And recently, the Afghan elections were held, and into the Afghan elections, Ashraf Ghani was preliminarily declared to be the winner. But however, later when the final results come, Abdullah said that the Ashraf Ghani had used unfair means into the election. Therefore, the presidential candidature should be held invalid, and actually Abdullah is the one who is the legitimate president. So a political crisis is going on in Afghanistan. Then there is Taliban, which is a terrorist organization which is situated in the Afghanistan and into the border regions of Pakistan also. Now, guys, Taliban gave a safe refuge to Osama bin Laden, who was responsible for carrying the World Trade Center attacks on USA. Now, guys, behind the scene, Pakistan is giving the support to the Taliban, and Pakistan well knows about the activities of Taliban. Therefore, Pakistan is also a major actor here. Now, guys, we come to the USA. As I have told you, in 2001, World Trade Center was attacked in USA, And as in this particular attack, logistic support was given by Taliban, which is particularly operating from Afghanistan. So USA believes that the terrorism is coming out of Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is a breeding ground. So since 2001, international troops have been stationed into Afghanistan, and these international troops are also called as Green Berets. Now, guys, this is the entire situation which is going on. Now, India has a particular interest into this entire situation. Why? Because Afghanistan is the neighbor, and if terrorism and all these activities will go into the Afghanistan, then a kind of an instability will come here, and ultimately India will be hampered into this entire scenario. However, guys, the problem with Indian response is that India is always putting all its card behind one person, that is Ashraf Ghani. Now, Ashraf Ghani formed government in 2014, which was called as National Unity Government. But Ashraf Ghani is not showing such eagerness and reciprocation to the India. And since the very start from 2014, India is being relegated and neglected. And now, guys, if we talk about the present time, then what is happening? Now the USA wants to withdraw from the Afghanistan because since then there is huge dent onto the American treasury, and now they want to go back. But they can't go back without there is some agreement between the USA and Taliban is held. So therefore now USA is negotiating a kind of a peace deal with the Taliban, and this peace deal has been finalized into the February of 2020. Now, guys, as a part of this peace deal, the USA is saying that they will withdraw. The Taliban is saying that they will stop their terrorist activities. Taliban had asked that certain prisoners should be released, which USA had said that okay, they will release. But Afghanistan has not given that whether such prisoners will be released or not. So, guys, however, this peace deal is going on onto the side notes. However, we'll right now not be going into that particular thing. Now the thing is that as international community is withdrawing back, there should be some everlasting agreement into this particular region so that peace can come. However, India is the one which is most desiring the peace, but India has not been kept as a partner into the peace negotiations. Why? Because I have told you that India had always put the card behind Ashraf Ghani, and Ashraf Ghani had not given such reciprocation. I told you since 2014 such response has not been given. And if we come back to the present times, then just recently in 2020 only there was a meeting held in Afghanistan, that is 6 plus 2 plus 1 meet, in which there were 6 neighbors of Afghanistan. Then there was USA as well as Russia, and the one was represented by Afghanistan itself. Now, guys, into this meet, Afghanistan did not invited India because it was said that India doesn't shares border with Afghanistan. Now a thing is being said that if Ashraf Ghani wanted, then he could have made this thing very much clear that they will only participate if India will be invited. However, nothing was done by Ashraf Ghani. And similarly, the USA also believed into such ideology that India should not be invited. The meet held without the participation of India when India is such big stakeholder into the region. After that, USA also issued an advisory to India that India should talk to Taliban directly if India wants to achieve some positive development into this region. And guys, by this advice of USA, India should learn a valuable chapter that India had made mistakes into the region by not involving with the other actors such as Pakistan, Taliban, the opposite faction of politics in Afghanistan, that is Abdullah, and with the USA. India was always of the opinion that the peace negotiation into the Afghanistan should be Afghan owned, Afghan led, and Afghan controlled. and therefore India had not actively engaged with the Taliban or the Pakistan onto the issue of peace negotiations, which is costing India. And now India has been sidelined and has been marginalized into this entire attempt when India is the most crucial one. Moreover, guys, all this thing is happening as since 2001, India is providing active support to Afghanistan with respect to the infrastructure creation, capacity building. Guys, there are examples that India had sponsored the parliament building, had constructed Zaranj Dileram road, had made Salma Dam into the Afghanistan, and various other infrastructure projects. So this is actually a kind of a shortcoming of India's diplomacy, where India, just because of the rigidity, might have failed to respond effectively into the crisis in just about the neighborhood. So, guys, this was all about this particular editorial. Will not be using any overt name into this particular analysis. Now, guys, we'll be moving to the next. Now, guys, this particular editorial talks about the challenges that are for India into the coming times, and particular reference has been given to the health into the stimulus package that has been announced recently. Now, guys, it has been said as the health response is being given, India might be reaching towards a position of curve flattening, where the more number of cases come into the less number of days. Now, guys, how we can say that we are going towards a flattening? It is because the number of days to double the cases are being increasing consistently, though the increase is not that much, but still consistent improvement is there. Now, there is approximately 13 days time to double the cases, so it could be a good indication. However, into this achievement, the major role has been played by the health workforce, who had sacrificed their own well-being for the sake of national well-being. But guys, still there are large number of challenges which are there, and we are yet to met these kind of challenges. Challenge number one is the economic growth, because guys, even when the COVID-19 pandemic has not begun, India's growth rate declined from 5% to 4.1%. And as now the pandemic has begun, it is being assumed that India's growth rate might be 1.1% or even below. So, first is economic challenge. Second challenge that is there is the challenge of rising unemployment. Now, guys, according to the data which has been released recently, India is having 24% unemployed rate, which is very much high. Guys, near quarter population is unemployed. And guys, if such unemployment goes for a long period of time, then aggregate demand will go down, and it will not be good for the entire economy. And with all this thing, the third challenge is of the weak health infrastructure. Now, guys, it is well known that there are states such as Bihar where health infrastructure facilities are so poor that if the number of cases spiked there because large number of migrants had returned back their home, then the problem will be uncontrollable. And now, friends, as such huge challenges have been there, India has announced a fiscal package which is called as Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, worth rupees 20 lakh crore. Now, guys, this entire package is concerned towards restoring the economic growth in economy. However, there are certain factors where government needs to make the consideration. Factor number one is that there are various stakeholders which are concerned with the unpredictability of government. Therefore, many large number of firms are exiting China, but they are not coming back to India. Rather, they are going to other ASEAN countries. So this is a major problem here. Government need to give very positive and good signal to all the investors if it needs to attract the investment in India. Now, guys, the second challenge comes onto the health front. Though health is a crucial factor in bringing back the economy to in track, but much attention is not being given. Guys, if we see the digits, then India spends around 1.15% to 1.4% of GDP onto the health, which is very less, seeing the demographic profile of India. Now, if we see the response into the aftermath of COVID 19, then a prima facie it seems that India procured enough number of PPE suits, enough number of ventilator, drug, etc. But all this thing is coming at a cost, and that the cost is diversion of funds from the other health programs. Now, guys, there have been reports by the media that people are complaining that they are not able to access the health care facilities for the maternal health, child health, family planning, all these kind of things. And moreover, guys, on one wave we have managed to provide the response, but what if a second wave of infection comes to India? Then India will not be equipped, because given the low healthcare spending. Now, at the same time, if we talk about the private sector with respect to health, then it has also been seen that the private sector, though account 93% of all the hospitals and nearly 64% of all the hospital beds, but has not come very positively in front, and even they are closing up their facilities, and very few private hospitals had come forward for help. So now, guys, what we have on the table: very less health spending into the time of crisis, diversion of health spending from other programs, weak private sector. So therefore, the message is very clear that into the fiscal package that government has announced, a considerable share should come for the health sector, and government should seize the opportunity and should introduce the concept of universal health care, under which everybody will be guaranteed to get the health care irrespective of their income or affordability. And in this respect, attention number one should be given to the primary health care. And guys, therefore, it right now there is a need for the health investment plan, and at least 1% of GDP additionally should be given for the public health delivery, and considerable share out of this entire share should be given to the primary health care. And guys, only if this thing will be done, then only the state governments will be in a position to deal with the pandemic. So guys, all these reforms into the healthcare sector are very much crucial. So guys, this was all about this article. Now we'll move to the next. Now, friends, on to the page number 8, the entire synopsis of the Atmanirbharta Abhiyan has been given. So you can see here into the part 1, part 2, 3, 4, and 5 how different amounts have been given. So guys, if you want, you can take up the screenshot of this particular thing, or you can download it also, and you can keep it for the quick revision. Now, if we see how the money has come, so guys, RBI's relief measures are this much, fiscal relief given by the government before that, which included the Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, is this much. Then the 5 tranches have been given by government amounting to this particular amount, and if we will total out this entire, then we will reach the amount of this particular 20 lakh 97,000 crore rupees. So guys, this is the breakdown of the all the tranches. So this has been the fiscal package, though not, you need not to mug up the datas, just for the reference we have seen this. Now, friends, here's a news on page number 10, where the Odisha has been issued a warning with respect to the Amphan. Now, guys, this Amphan is the tropical cyclone which has originated into the Bay of Bengal and is marching towards the West Bengal as well as Odisha, along with the nearby regions such as Bangladesh and all other regions. Now, guys, when we talk about a cyclone, though we can't discuss this right now because it is a very big topic of geography, but essentially what a cyclone is, so cyclone is a kind of a weather system where there will be very weak or very low pressure into the middle, and into the nearby region there will be the high pressure, and therefore the wind will be converge from all the directions to this low pressure which is created in between. Now, guys, there are certain conditions as when the cyclone can form. And these condition number one is that there should be large surface area, there should be large sea, and into the Bay of Bengal, that particular thing is met out. Then the surface temperature should be approximately around 27% degrees Celsius. And as summers are approaching, this particular condition is also met. then guys there should be strong Coriolis force. You might have read about Coriolis force in your geography. So Coriolis force is a fictitious force which is generated due to the rotation of earth. Then there will be the weak vertical wind. Vertical winds should not be that much very strong. So guys, apart from them there are other factors also. So these are the major factors which are there. If they will be there, then the cyclone will be formed. And now because all these factors have been found, then the cyclone has been formed and it is marching towards the West Bengal and Odisha. And in this particular respect, National Disaster Management Authority had issued warnings to the states. Red alert, orange alert has been issued. So, guys, though every year the cyclone comes into this particular region, but I will recommend that please read the topic of cyclone from your static geography. Now, guys, we'll move to the next. Now, friends, here's one more news item with respect to the distribution companies. Now, guys, as we are discussing the fiscal package, then I had told you that 90,000 crore rupees fiscal package will be given to the discoms, that is power distribution companies. Now, guys, these discoms need to pay back their dues to the power generators, and these power generators are both private as well as public. And now, guys, as there are huge losses into the discoms, moreover, there is low recoverability of the electricity dues. Therefore, the discoms are not able to pay back. So, now the mechanism is that center government had allotted a fund. Now, this fund will be given to the discoms, but there are various conditions. Certain conditions have been mentioned here. Now, guys, condition number one into this particular respect is that discom has to give the guarantee of the state government that the fund will be paid back to the center government. Now, guys, the period of the repayment is 10 years, but anyhow, the irrevocable guarantee of the state aid government is needed. Irrevocable means that the state government cannot cancel that guarantee. And if the discoms fail to pay back, then the state will be liable to pay their dues. So this is condition number one. Then condition number two is that the distribution companies need to make the arrangement for their self assessment by the end consumers. Consumer should be able to give the feedback as how the services of that particular distribution companies. Moreover, guys, they also need to install the mechanism for the digital payment of the bills. So this is the third condition. And along with this particular thing, they have to make the arrangement for the installation of smart or prepaid meters at the premises of the government departments and its offices. Now, guys, this particular thing is being done so that if a government department does not pays the bill, then the particular action could be taken. And it has also been said that if the state fails to pay the power bill, then within 60 days of the due date, it will be charged with the additional interest of 0.25%. Now, guys, this particular thing, that is installation of smart meter and levying of fine, is there because there are large number of government facilities which use the power but don't pay back their bills. So in order to improve the recoverability of the discoms, this particular thing is being done. So guys, please remember these things because they could be put as a reference into GS paper number 3 infrastructure questions or into the electricity sector. Now, guys, here's a news item on page number 14, that is international page. Now, guys, if you remember, into the today's editorial, we discussed the political controversy that is going on in Afghanistan. So, the political controversy between Abdullah and Ashraf Ghani has been resolved, and both have came together certain agreements. Now, guys, as a part of this deal, Mr. Ashraf Ghani will stay the president of the nation, whereas Abdullah will be holding a key position into the Reconciliation Council, which is also popularly called as National Reconciliation High Council. And guys, certain members of the Abdullah will be holding the position into the into the cabinet of the Ashraf Ghani. So guys, in this way, the power is being shared. Now, guys, this National Reconciliation High Council is responsible to overlook all the things which are going as a part of Afghanistan peace process. Now, guys, as the agreement has been signed, it is now believed that some stability will come into Afghanistan. Now, guys, if we look little bit of the background, then it can be seen that the Trump has announced the cutting of $1 billion assistance that is being given to Afghanistan if the controversy between the two leaders is not resolved. And now it has been resolved. The funding will also go to Afghanistan, by which they can give a response to the coronavirus also. And now there have been 6,400 confirmed case into the Afghanistan. So this dispute was needed to be resolved. Now, guys, please don't go too much deeper into the details and agreements, because at the end of the day, it is the internal political matter of Afghanistan, so not that much important. So, guys, this was all about the today's important articles. I hope you are liking the discussion. Thank you so much.